Hey, I'm Chris UX, and I am a UX designer in Atlanta, Georgia. So what is a UX designer? Well, to keep it simple, through research and design, I create products that are functional, easy to use, and also a delight to use it. Because even though a product is easy to use, if you don't enjoy using it, then you won't use it. So for example, let's say Twitter or X, millions of people use it. It's easy to use, people enjoy using it, even if it's logging on to complain and rant, right? Then you have Threads by Meta. It's also easy to use and look very similar to Twitter. But yet, after a couple of weeks, their user engagement went down almost 50%. And then last I checked, it's about 80%. It went down almost 80%. So even though it looked the same, the experience is different. But that what user experience is. It's not about how pretty an app is, it's how you feel when you're using it. But anyway, I'm often asked how I broke into tech. I talked to so many people, I've seen so many videos saying move to Atlanta, get into tech. Well, first off, we're full. Traffic is horrible. I don't know how to drive. And it seemed like our only idea of a good time is hookah, restaurants with grass walls, and Afro beats. Stop it. But anyway, all jokes aside, I just want to share my story how I broke into tech within a year. It wasn't easy. It was definitely one of the most challenging things I ever done in my life, but I don't want to discourage you. If anything, I hope my story inspires you. The tech industry is the future, and there are plenty of ways to get into it. I'm just sharing how I did it. First off, all glory to the Most High Yah for his favor and grace to even make this possible. I mean, I'm just keeping it 100 with you. But at the same time, faith without works is dead. So I worked very hard to become a UX designer. As far as my background, before I got into tech, I spent the past 15 plus years working in multimedia as a professional photographer, magazine editor, author, writer, filmmaker, and much, much more. Full disclosure, I don't have a college degree. I only did a year of college before I dropped out, simply because I wasn't learning enough. Because new tech is dropping every 6 months, and I'm paying for education using outdated resources and hardware, software. And that math wasn't mapping for me. So not knocking anyone else, it just wasn't for me. So I spent my days in the bookstore to learn what I wanted to learn. This is way before YouTube was even a thing. Yeah, I'm showing my age, but I really did get out the mud. But anyway, I learned what I had to learn, and I created my own multimedia business and been doing it for years and had my ups and downs. But overall, I was pretty successful. I accomplished a lot over the years and I stayed busy. But in 2020, my world changed. I became a father at a time when business accounts slowing down, people not buying print magazines anymore. I'm competing against camera phones and Instagram. Things are getting kind of rough. And then just a week after we brought our son home, the whole world changed. The world was shut down, including my business. Even though the world was shut down, guess what? I still had bills to pay. I still had family to provide for. Things got real during the pandemic. So I had to humble myself. I had to find a job and clock back in. And I started work at it. Since it was the pandemic, I had to seek work at an essential business, work for a big box retail store, and it sucked. But I was grateful. Bills were paid. My family was good. I was getting by. I was surviving, but I wasn't living. You know, that's the difference. Something had to give. At this point, we knew the world was never going back to normal. And I also knew it was now or never to make a move. The pandemic was rough on a lot of people. I totally understand, but I was going to use these crazy times to my advantage and pivot into tech. When it comes to tech, there are different types of jobs and career paths you can take. If you have interest in tech, you just have to do your research and see what works best for you. But for me, I chose UX because I can combine my skills of research and writing, visual design, project management, problem solving, empathy, collaboration, all the skills I attained over the years from working for myself in multimedia. So to me, it was a natural fit to get into UX, and I can still continue to use my skills to help other people. Now, there are many ways to get into UX. There's YouTube, workshops, classes, boot camps, books, etc. There are many paths that you can take. But after doing my own research, watching YouTube videos and reading a ton of articles and talking to people that worked in UX, I decided to enroll in a UX boot camp. Again, to be clear, boot camps are not necessary to get into UX. That is the route I took. I like the fast-paced structure, having a class to work with, and knowing I could knock it out in only 3 months. So let me tell you, I really hated my job. But when you're in situations like that, you usually do one of two things. You either stay at your job and complain, or you trying to find a solution, a way out. It's funny because UX is literally about solving pain points. And being overworked and underpaid in an essential business was definitely a pain point in my life I was trying to solve. So I spent the next 3 months in boot camp learning UX, building my portfolio, networking, taking in as much education as I can, as fast as I can. Now, it said it takes an average between 6 to 12 months to land your first tech role. And from what I learned and from talking to others, I say that's true. But I didn't have that type of time. I had a family to provide for. I had a baby son, to take care of. So in boot camp, I didn't take my foot off the gas. I always try to stay ahead of the rest of the class. Hell, even within the first month, I was already applying for UX jobs, just trying to get a feel for the interviews. So after 3 months, I completed the boot camp. At the same time, I was working on real projects. Oftentimes talking to recruiters, they didn't want to see class projects. They want to see real projects. And I also continued my job search. And then in less than 2 months, I got a job offer. Praise Yah. But it didn't really hit me until I got that email with the offer letter. And the initial offer was more than what my manager was getting paid at this big box retail store. So we're talking about within a span of a year, I went from a failing business to becoming a father, surviving the pandemic, working a crappy job, to a whole new career in tech, and my money no longer looking funny. But that job offer didn't come easy. I applied for so many jobs. I have done so many interviews. I got so many rejections. And I'm going to be honest with you, after a while it becomes draining and discouraging. But hey, I kept going. I kept learning from my failed interviews. I kept reaching out to other designers to get feedback and advice. I kept tweaking up my resume. I kept working on my portfolio. I would do mock interviews and with my peers. I just stayed hungry for it. But even after I landed my first role in tech, this is not the end. No, this is not the end of the story. This is only the beginning. I was hired under a contract, so it's still showing proof for me. And I still wanted to continue to learn and grow to be the best designer I can be as fast as I can. I'm still attending local tech networking events. I'm going to tech conferences. I'm still networking. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. And one issue many people have when trying to break into tech is gaining experience. When I started my shiny new UX job, I began working with more experienced designers. And it didn't take long for me to realize I had a lot more to learn. I had to get my experience up. And I talked to a lot of recruiters, and one thing you'll notice, they definitely want experience. So just getting a certificate or completing a boot camp is not enough. But for me, I provided free UX services to Black small businesses and startups for a few months. But that is something I'm passionate about, because one reason I became a designer to help people within my own community to grow. But not only I'm gaining experience, I'm also helping out my community too. So it's a win-win. Then a few months later, I was selected to take part in this nationwide mobile hackathon competition car startup bus. And my tech career was on the move, literally. I hop on the bus with strangers filled with designers, business people, and developers. And we had to create a working product within 3 days. And for those 3 days, we would travel to 7 cities throughout the Midwest, pitching the product to investors. Catch a flight from Atlanta to Cincinnati, Ohio. Travel down to Louisville, Kentucky, Indianapolis, Indiana, Chicago, Illinois, St. Louis, Missouri, Tulsa, Oklahoma, all the way down to the final competition in Austin, Texas. And within that tight schedule, every moment was spent trying to create an original product and at the same time trying to convince investors to invest in it. And not only did I have to compete against other teams on my bus, there were 5 other buses across the country filled with teams that I also had to compete against. But to keep a long story short, I didn't win. All right. But however, we did make it all the way to the finals, and my team finished top 5. Not bad for a guy who's new in the tech space. A few months after that, I finally received my full-time offer. I got a nice pay bump. I got my benefits now. I'm official, right? But even then, I continued to learn and grow because technology is always changing. You had to continue to adapt and adjust. So this is my story. This is my testimony. I hope some of you are inspired. Like, share, subscribe. If you want me to cover more of my tech journey, let me know in the comments. If you have suggestions, just let me know. But thank you for listening. Stay encouraged.